This is my PB&J Zipper Cosmetic Bag print from Spoonflower. You can print it as a fat quarter in petal cotton fabric. And that is what I've done here. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut all of the pieces apart. These purple pieces are your main fabric. If you'd rather put them as your lining, go ahead. This is your bag. Do make it how you want it to be. I'm cutting all the pieces out. The things that you will need for this project are a 12-inch zipper. And if you'd like your bag to have some stiffness, then you may want to get, I'm using fusible fleece for the 2 panels on the front. If that is thicker or too heavy for your bag, you'd like to do something lighter, maybe choose a lighter weight interfacing. So right now, this is the handle that we're folding in half. We're ironing it, and then we're folding in the raw edges to that crease, and we're going to iron it again. This is really handy. The wool mat that I'm using, I'm just pinning my pins right down in, and I'll link that wool mat below because it is a great tool in my sewing room. This is the fusible fleece that I am pinning to my fabric, the outer panel, so that I can cut it out, and then I'll iron it on. There's 2 sides to it. One side has little dots of glue, and I'm making sure that those little dots of glue are facing towards the back side of my fabric. I turned my iron down. You don't want to have your iron too hot because you don't want to melt that interfacing. So now I'm going to use my zipper, and I'm going to give space on each side of the zipper. This allows so that you don't accidentally sew over the metal part at the end of the zipper. But that means you really do need to use a plastic or nylon zipper. A metal one will not work for this project if you're going to have it overhang like that, because you're going to trim it later. So we're just using a zipper foot and sewing right next to that zipper edge. I'm going to use my iron again, and also don't keep it too hot because you don't want to melt the zipper either. So we're going to turn it down a little. This is a step you really need to do, is press this seam down, because we're going to top stitch right along that edge. And what this does is this keeps the bag from getting into your zipper when you're opening and closing your zipper. This keeps all the layers where they need to be, so they don't get stuck in your zipper later on when you're using your bag. So now we're going to put on the other side of the fabric. So I showed the first time I pinned that on that you could either use those clips, or you could use sewing pins. It's whatever you have available. We're just matching up the lining pieces on top of the lining pieces and the facing and the front bag fabric together. Make sure right sides are together, and we'll go ahead and stitch right along that zipper again. Don't forget to sew your bag handle. I'm using this washi tape because it's really easy to take on and off of your sewing machine, and it's great to use as a guide. You make it exactly where you want the fabric to go, and you measure it all the way down, and then you can just use it to guide your fabric through so that your finished seam is nice and straight. And then we're going to set this aside, and we're going to add it to the bag in a few minutes. Now it's time to go ahead and sew our bag together. Before we pin it, you want to make sure you open that zipper. If you don't open the zipper now, you won't be able to use your bag. So make sure you unzip that zipper almost to the end, not all the way to the end, just like how I've done it here. So you have plenty of room to turn it right side out. We also don't want to forget to add our handle, and our handle's going to go in right there. I'm putting mine on the edge where the zipper is open so that when you're closing your zipper, you can hold your handle. And now I'm pinning the fabrics together, the lining together, and the bag fabric together. And then I'm leaving a space for that tag. That's where my opening is going to be for turning it. So I'm just measuring to make sure like that is wide enough, because I'm going to sew my tag into my lining where I leave my opening for my turning. I'm pushing the zipper towards the lining fabrics. So you know how you're going to fold the zipper, it's kind of going to fold in half when you sew over it. And the half I'm going to fold towards the lining. I've got to switch out my from my zipper foot to my regular foot. Just helps me to sew this part a little better. And I'm just going to use the guide of that zipper to be my edge. It ends up being a 1/4 inch seam. So if you have a 1/4 inch foot, you can use that too, or you can use your normal foot. And then we're just sewing around the entire bag. When I go over that handle, sometimes I backstitch just to make sure that it's secured. Just going to clip off all the extra pieces. So we're going to clip off the zipper now. We're going to clip off all those extra pieces on the edges. And we're going to turn it right side out. So I'm using that space I left open in the lining to pull it right side out. I'm using my fingers to kind of push out all the corners. If you need to use a tool, use something that's not sharp, like a chopstick. That's a really handy tool. I'd say a knitting needle, but some knitting needles are sharp. So then I'm just going to use my tag, and I'm going to sew it right into my lining where that opening was left. You can top stitch over the opening as well. This just gives it a little more detail. And then your bag is finished. Tune in for more videos of Spoonflower projects that I make or other projects that I make. Happy sewing, friends. Thanks for watching.